The clone troopers of the Grand Army of the Republic were designed to be the best of the best, the greatest soldiers the galaxy had to offer. To complement their skills and ensure that clones had the best chance of staying alive as possible, the equipment the Kaminoans commissioned for them was top-notch as well, especially their armor and blaster weaponry. Now, we've discussed clone armor and why it was great in prior videos, but we haven't really touched on the weapons clones were equipped with. That's a bit of a mistake. Clone weapons were actually quite powerful, even by military standards, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at why.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
The Grand Army of the Republic generally favored blasters from Blast Tech Industries' DC series, with the DC-15A blaster rifle and the DC-15S blaster carbine being the most widely used clone weapons. The DC-17 blaster pistol was used heavily by clone officers, while clone commandos favored the DC-17M interchangeable weapons system, and snipers favored the DC-15X sniper rifle. Other weapons used by clone troopers included the Westar M5 blaster rifle, a favorite of the ARC troopers, the Z6 rotary blaster cannon, the reciprocating quad blaster, and the RPS-6 rocket launcher. This is a pretty wide variety of weapons, but they have one major thing in common. They're all really overpowered. For example, let's take a look at the DC-15A. The DC-15A blaster rifle was the standard weapon issued to clone troopers, though many clones preferred the DC-15S blaster carbine, which was smaller and easier to maneuver with. The DC-15A, even by military rifle standards, was insanely powerful, easily a dozen times more so than the E5 blaster rifle employed by the Confederacy. Firstly, it was a highly durable weapons platform capable of hosting a variety of different kinds of scopes, grappling hooks, and more. It was even capable of linking up with the computers inside clone helmets and projecting a targeting display right into their HUDs. Many clones joked that they were just lever arms that allowed their helmets to pull the triggers on their blaster rifles. But aside from that, the bolts fired by the DC-15A were much more powerful than those fired by its contemporaries. For starters, they were highly ionized, hence their blue color, which allowed them to disrupt the electrical systems of targets. This trait was shared by pretty much all standard issue Republic blasters during the Clone Wars. The Tabana gas cartridges on the DC-15A could last for 500 shots on low power or 300 shots on high power. They also packed quite a punch, as one shot from a DC-15A on high power could blow a half-meter hole in a concrete wall. Even more stunning than that was the range on these things. When mounted to a tripod, the DC-15A blaster rifle was effective at ranges up to 10 kilometers. In freedom units, that's a little over 6 miles or 100 football fields laid end to end. For reference, the longest distance kill in our world was at a distance of a little over 3 kilometers, and this is about thrice that. Essentially, a clone armed with one of these bad boys could stand on the roof of a building on one end of your average city and blast a chunk out of a building on the other end of the city. While the rest of the standard clone loadout wasn't quite that powerful, other clone weapons were still overkill compared to their peers. The DC-15S blaster carbine, the DC-15A's smaller cousin, lacked the insane range of the rifle in the high power setting, but in turn, it could fire much more rapidly. Even though it was less powerful, it was still far more powerful than your average blaster carbine, capable of shredding heavy armor plating. Aside from that, it was basically just a mini DC-15A, hence why so many clones preferred it. Similarly, the DC-15X sniper rifle was just a far more precise DC-15A with a far smaller magazine size. Then there's the DC-17 hand blaster. This little blaster pistol, a favorite of the likes of Captain Rex, Captain Fordo, and many others, was absurdly powerful for its size. It was actually more powerful than the DC-15S, and it also had an incredibly high rate of fire. On top of that, it was compact enough to be efficiently dual-wielded, which gave the clones who used them an incredible amount of firepower. No other blaster pistol short of a disruptor even comes close to the DC-17. The DC-17M, on the other hand, was the favored weapon of the Republic's clone commandos. It was often stylized as a blaster rifle, but it was much more than that. it was an interchangeable weapon system, a weapon capable of functioning in a variety of different roles. In standard configuration, the DC-17M functioned as a fully automatic, rapidly firing blaster rifle, likely about as powerful as the DC-15 cousins. It could also be made into a sniper rifle, capable of eliminating targets with extreme precision at 3 different ranges, or an armor-piercing grenade launcher, which could scrap even the toughest droids in seconds. Switching between the various modes took clone commandos mere seconds, allowing them to quickly adapt to whatever situation they found themselves in. To our knowledge, no other blaster in the history of the Star Wars universe even comes close to the versatility the DC-17M had. Another less common clone weapon was the Z6 rotary blaster cannon, a minigun most notably wielded by clone troopers Heavy, Thorn, and Hardcase. These devastating weapons could spray an impressive 166 bolts per minute, or somewhere between 2 and 3 a second. These bolts were equivalent in strength to the high power shots delivered by the DC-15A, though they had a much shorter range due to the inaccurate nature of spray and pray. This devastating weapon had an even more powerful cousin, the reciprocating quad blaster, a portable repeating quad laser capable of taking out tank droids and required a special armor configuration for operation. A favorite of the Republic's ARC troopers, the Westar M5 blaster rifle was another incredibly powerful weapon. Though it didn't have anywhere near the range of the DC-15 line, it was far more powerful, capable of blasting through tank armor. It also featured a full auto mode and a small grenade launcher, making it one of the most versatile weapons in the Republic arsenal. The Republic also used the RPS-6 rocket launcher, though that one wasn't exclusive to the GAR and even found its way into the hands of pirate gangs. The overkill factor of all these weapons is intensified when you consider that the clones generally use them against B1 battle droids, which, to be honest, you could probably take out with a slingshot. It's like using a cannon to swat a fly. This begs a simple question: why? Why did the Kaminoans spend so much money on overpowered weapons when they just weren't necessary to deal with the Separatist threat? The answer is as simple as the question. The Kaminoans didn't know the clones were going to be up against an army of flimsy old battle droids. The clone army was commissioned by Jedi Master Sifo Dyas, who, at the prompting of his old friend Dooku, wanted the Republic to have a defense against the threat that he foresaw coming for it in his dreams. But Sifo Dyas' visions weren't specific. As he described it, he foresaw a vast darkness sweeping across the galaxy, a shadowy force of immense proportions that would threaten civilization itself. When he commissioned an army to stop it, he didn't cut any corners. He told the Kaminoans he wanted the greatest army the galaxy had ever seen, and the Kaminoans certainly tried their best. The weapons used by the clones were simply a powerful complement to the most powerful army in the galaxy, one worthy of stopping the great darkness that threatened the Republic. Furthermore, even if the great shadow Sifo Dyas foresaw was just a sea of crappy old B1s, it was imperative that the clones were as powerful as was practical. Each clone trooper was quite the investment for the Kaminoans, and they wanted to protect that investment as much as possible. They wanted their clones to survive as long as they could, and giving them a handheld purveyors of utter annihilation is a pretty solid way of doing that. Though it was likely coincidence more than anything. The weapons the Kaminoans gave their clones were incredibly well suited to deal with the CIS droid army as well. As we mentioned earlier, the blaster bolts fired by most clone weapons were ionized in a way that disrupted electronic systems, making them even more effective against droids. This, plus the high-powered nature of these blaster weapons, allowed them to be effective even against light tank droids. The Westar M5 was even shown to be capable of destroying an armored assault tank in a few shots, which is nothing short of insane. The Confederacy's great advantages, as we've mentioned in the past, were numbers and diversity, and the clone weapons arsenal countered both superbly. With these overpowered guns, individual clones could deal with large numbers of battle droids, and no matter what units the Confederacy threw at them, the high power settings of these weapons could probably burn holes clean through their armor. So that's why the weapons used by the Grand Army of the Republic were so overpowered, but what do you think? Which of these weapons is your favorite, and which would you have used if you were a clone trooper? Let us know in the comments section below. And just before you go, guys, if you want to hear more of the music that we're playing in some of our recent videos, then please do check out our other channel called Relax Jack, We post a bunch of new music every month that you can check out, all really great and all coming from my mate D9, who you can check out on the channel sidebar. And if you want to join our wider Geetsly's community, then go even deeper into the description and find where our Discord is, our Geetsly's Gaming Network Discords are, where you can join other Star Wars fans like yourself in our Gary's Mod games, or if you just want to talk on the Discord server as stated. But anyways guys, as always, thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next video.